Hello and welcome back to the Asaase Breakfast Show. And yes, we're now into that part of our conversation with what's going on, where we look at some quite serious matters. The Office of the Special Prosecutor yesterday morning into early afternoon, not only having declared the former Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, a fugitive from Ghanaian justice, but issuing a poster to that effect, just in case we've missed the message last week. The man is wanted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It says on the red banner headline, his name, Kenneth Ofori-Atta. It gives his date of birth, his age, his gender, in case we're in any doubt, his eye colour, his hair colour, and so on. Joining us, even his skin colour. Joining us on the phone, we hope to discuss the matters of the Office of Special Prosecutor, of the Special Prosecutor, and his need to speak to the former Minister for Finance, Wilberforce Asare, joining us on Zoom. And we say good morning to you, Wilberforce.
Anna, it is well.
Well, I'm all the better for hearing from you. And welcome back to the programme. So, were you surprised in any way by the issuing of this poster declaring Ken Ofori-Atta officially wanted yesterday?
So Nana, when I saw that document officially posted on the website of the Special Prosecutor, it made me immediately begin to look on my phone list and to speak to lawyers that I know and to pick their thoughts on the latest developments. And I must say that I have had conversation with at least 4 lawyers on this matter. And I have 4 different perspectives to share on the development. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, one of the lawyers that I spoke to told me that it appears that in this matter, there is a legal aspect and there is a political aspect. And these 2 aspects are important and they have to be discussed separately and dispassionately. So, for example, when it comes to what is political and what is legal, they tell me that to the extent that Ken Ofori-Atta is a former finance minister, everything about him is political and he's politically exposed. And so there's a likelihood that if you want to do things concerning him, you would look at it from a political lens. Then they also tell me that there is the legal aspect of things, which is founded in our criminal procedure as a country. Mm-hmm. And so irrespective of the investigative body, which is investigating a matter, that investigative body must adhere to the criminal procedure that we have given to ourselves as a country. And so whether it is IOCO, whether it is the police CID, whether it is the Special Prosecutor, whether it is the BNI, or whether it is the NIB, whichever way it is looked at, there is a procedure that they have to follow. And whether the person involved is politically exposed or not, it doesn't matter. You still have to stick to the procedure. And so some of them have raised concerns with the Special Prosecutor's procedure because they think that his actions are more politically driven than they are driven by the criminal procedure. So, for example, they say that if you were starting an investigation, for all intents and purposes, it is an investigation. You have not reached a conclusion. And so you are engaging people who you think are of interest to aid the investigation process. So if you are engaged in such an investigation, what it means is that for every process that you engage in, they are not conclusive. They are only initial or, for want of a better word, inquisitorial. You are inquiring because you want to know and get your facts right. And so they are saying that if you look at the processes that the special prosecutor has gone through now, it suggests to them that the special prosecutor is looking at things through a political lens rather than looking at it through a legal lens.
Wilberforce, I might ask you if there are no exceptional circumstances that one might want to take account in this particular case. We have a little bit of an echo.
Feedback because I'm having a feedback. I can't hear you because another Dell machine has joined the Zoom link and I can hardly hear you.
Yes, I'm getting feedback, or I was getting feedback at this end as well. I hope the feedback has disappeared now.
Well, I think so. I think it's muted, but I don't really know why another machine should join a conversation if it is not going to contribute.
Nor do I, but I think we can safely assume that there are no ghosts in the machine waiting to contribute to this discussion. It's just you and me, Wilberforce, on this one. So let's persist. Okay. I was asking whether there might not be exceptional circumstances in relation to this particular individual, Ken Ofori-Atta. I mean, I note that the wanted poster issued by the OSP yesterday, a week after his bombshell press conference, in which he announced that Ken Ofori-Atta was a quote-unquote fugitive, that the suspect, he says, is wanted to answer charges in respect of several cases. And then he goes on, or the office goes on to mention 4 particular cases in particular. For particular cases, if it's a question of these are exceptional circumstances because the individual concerned is wanted in connection with so many matters, might there not be other forces driving the special prosecutor to make what seem extraordinary pronouncements on his wish to talk to Ken Ofori-Atta?
Well, Nana, so interesting question. But at least with my little understanding and from the conversation I've had with the lawyers, charges are not answered at the OSP office. Charges are answered in the court. So if you charge somebody, you arraign the person before a court of competent jurisdiction. And it is in that court that the person's charges will be read to him and his plea will be taken, whether guilty or not guilty. That cannot be done at the office of the special prosecutor. Never. It has never happened and it can never happen.
But the special prosecutor can summon individuals, as obviously he does, to answer questions. The suspects in any case then have the right to answer questions or not, as the case may be. We know, for example, the case of the special prosecutor summoning Evans Mahama in the Airbus scandal to answer to questions, which he did. Some questions were asked, and apparently the outcome of that investigation was inconclusive and a bit of a null and void. Is the special prosecutor not within his rights to summon the individual, at least to answer preliminary questions?
Well, yes. So standard procedure. The standard procedure for our investigators and criminal procedure, from what the lawyers are telling me, is that someone may be a subject of interest. Mm-hmm. The investigators have the right to invite that person. And usually, the lawyers are telling me that the investigators would like to deal with the subject matter personally, instead of through their lawyer. If you look at the Ken Ofori-Atta issue, you would see that when the special prosecutor wrote a letter to Ken and indicated that he wants him to come, but he can come in the company of his lawyer, that was the right thing to do. However, because Ken is not available, he opted that his lawyers respond to the special prosecutor. Some of the lawyers are telling me that their experience with investigators is that usually the investigators would like to deal with the subject matter, the person they are looking for, and not through an intermediary or through their lawyer. Mm. And so usually when investigators are looking for a person and that person is not himself or herself readily available but they have to deal through their lawyer. Investigators are usually not comfortable with that. And they are telling me that the circumstances that Ken finds himself, that is one of the explanations that they can give, that the investigators want him personally. They don't want to deal with his lawyers. And that's because whatever they want to ask him, they want to ask him personally and not his lawyers, even though at the invitation of the OSP, he is free to come with his lawyer. So the question that you ask me, if there is any exception, the exception is that by practice, investigators always want to deal with the subject matter and not to deal with an intermediary, so that if the OSP thinks that I have questions to answer, the OSP wants to deal directly with me, even if my lawyer is present. They don't want to deal with my lawyer in my absence. And that is the reason why some of the lawyers are saying the special prosecutor has decided to go the route that he's going. However, they still indicate that it would appear that there are too many emotions involved on the side of the special prosecutor, and that further discussions and steps could have been taken if what the special prosecutor needed was a definite timeline, as in saying that I will come or I'll be available not on the 10th of February, but I'll be available on the 10th of March or on the 10th of April or on the 10th of June. So if that is what the special prosecutor wanted, then the lawyers are saying that further communication could have gone on so that the special prosecutor gets that definite date or timeline that he was looking for. Instead of saying that, but instead of concluding that by virtue of the fact that they have not been able to make personal contact with Ken, but have made contact with his lawyers, and his lawyers are not forthcoming with specific dates, then they conclude that the man is running away, and so let's declare him wanted. This is the explanation that I'm getting from some of these lawyers.
Right. I mean, the lawyers have not been specific, have not given a specific date, but they did signal in their initial communication, at least to the Office of the Special Prosecutor in response to his first letter demanding to talk to the former Finance Minister, that he would be at the Mayo Clinic in the Midwest in the United States, probably until March, because of certain medical interventions that he was seeking from his doctors out there. His medical checkup at the Mayo Clinic being something that is, we know from past news coverage, is something that he does at least once a year. I am slightly mystified, Wilberforce, if it's a question of needing to contact the individual himself to discuss the matter of when he thinks, given how he might be feeling or not feeling, when he thinks he might be able to return to Ghana to talk directly to the special prosecutor, why this is such a hard thing to do. Yesterday evening we had here on Asaase 107.3 the former Minister of Defence, Dominic Netiwul, who had said that he personally had spoken with Ken Ofori-Atta in the past day, and he made some rather disparaging comments about the special prosecutor and the whole investigation. If it has been possible for Dominic Netiwul to contact Ken Ofori-Atta directly, why do you imagine it is so particularly hard for the special prosecutor to get hold of him, to talk to him directly?
Well, so the special prosecutor has not told us, Nana, that he has made a personal call to Ken and didn't get through. All we know is that he wrote a letter to Ken. And Ken, being absent, decided to ask his lawyers to respond to the letter. I asked that could have Ken written a letter in his personal capacity to respond to the special prosecutor, and would that have satisfied the special prosecutor, instead of asking his lawyers to respond to the official communication that he received from the Office of the Special Prosecutor? And so these are the factors. The special prosecutor did not say, I called him, he didn't answer. The special prosecutor said he wrote to him. And the person has acknowledged receipt of the letter.
Through
and
his
being
lawyers.
absent, has decided that his lawyers should respond to same. His lawyers responded to it. The special prosecutor was looking for a definite timeline that he can come other than the 10th of February, which has already passed. The special prosecutor did not get it. And so by virtue of the fact that he did not get that definite date, he says that the subject matter does not intend to come. And so because of that, I'm declaring him wanted, and I will use whatever means possible to get him. In fact, if you look at the notice that the special prosecutor has put on his website, apart from saying that Ken is wanted to answer charges, which charges all of us don't know, because really, if you charge somebody, the charges must be known. The charges must be available. The subject matter himself should know the charges that you have preferred against him or her. And so, as it stands today, we do not know the charges that have been preferred against Ken, except that we know that the special prosecutor says he wants him to come and answer some questions because he was doing an investigation. But now the notice on the website has moved to the next level, because now he wants Ken to come and answer to charges. And we want to know the charges. And that is Ken answerable to charges at the office of the special prosecutor, or he's answerable to charges in the court? Because Ken could come to Ghana today and go to the special prosecutor's office and sit there and fold his arms
and say
and
nothing.
You ask him a question and he says, I don't have an answer. Ask him another question, I don't have an answer. Ask him another question, I don't know. You can keep him for 48 hours. Beyond 48 hours or within 48 hours, you must present him to a court and he must be granted bail. If you don't want him to be granted bail, you must show reason why you don't want him to be granted bail. So the criminal procedure of our country is so clear that it cannot be breached. And that is why I find the notice, first of all, intriguing in terms of the language. I don't know whether it was the one who posted it did not run it by the special prosecutor, nor the deputy special prosecutor, nor the director of public prosecution at the office of the special prosecutor, or all the other lawyers that are at the special prosecutor's office. Because either to the letter that you wrote to Ken, you said that you were conducting an investigation and you want him to answer some questions. Then a notice on your website says that the special prosecutor needs you to come and answer charges. These are two different things. And
Wilberforce, two quite different things, but in the case of the wanted poster put out yesterday, mentioning two possible locations. The special prosecutor, or the office at least, seeming to believe that Ken Ofori-Atta may not only be in the United States of America. One would have thought that, you can get in touch with the Department for Homeland Security, you can get in touch with the Mayo Clinic, where he's seeking medical advice. You could even get in touch with ICE, if need be, to try to locate him in the United States, if you really wanted to pin him down. Or in the UK, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is now alleging. If the Special Prosecutor is so convinced that the individual is deliberately absconding from the country as a way of evading facing charges, would you expect his next move, whether it's a week again from today or yesterday or not, to seek an international arrest warrant? I would have thought that would be another logical train of events.
Well, an interesting question, and there are options available to the state. When Ken was leaving Ghana, by virtue of the kind of security arrangements we have in our country, if anybody is leaving Ghana, your exit is known. It's known by way of the flight you are on, the time you are leaving, the time you embark, the time you disembark, the destination where you are going. They also know that you are coming. When you get there, when you leave there, we can tell that you have left the jurisdiction. All these things are things that investigators globally have the connection to ascertain. And so if I were traveling to the US, the date of my travel is known. When I check in at the airport, when I go through immigration, my details are known. My passport is stamped that I'm exiting. The destination where I'm going, my passport is scanned here. The US border agency actually has to okay my coming before I can even get there. If they don't okay it, I cannot go on a flight to go to the US. So there are so many processes that you can go through to ascertain somebody's whereabouts. If Ken has left the United States of America, if he left there today, the security agencies in the country have what it takes to ascertain where he left to, where he's going, and where he's arriving and all that. Those things are not rocket science. They can be found out easily by any investigator, more especially when you talk about the Office of the Special Prosecutor, where they believe that they have strong intelligence and they have strong technical know-how and security know-how to conduct investigations and to do all kinds of things here in our country. So that is not an issue in terms of where the subject matter is. But, Nana, one of the things that some of the lawyers have been telling me has to do with what are the remedies that Ken Ofori-Atta can explore in terms of all that has happened. Some people have talked about defamation. Others have spoken about breach of his fundamental human rights. And reputational
damage.
Some are advocating that. Say again?
And reputational damage.
The reputational damage, yes. So while some are saying that they believe that he can sue for defamation, others are saying that usually when it comes to defamation against public officers, they always have a way out. And that is that they say that they were acting on official duty. And so defamation, even though indeed Ken may have been defamed by the actions of the Special Prosecutor, it may be difficult for him to press defamation charges against the Special Prosecutor, or for that matter, the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But others are saying that when it comes to a breach of his fundamental human rights and reputational damage, they think that he can sue in tort against the Special Prosecutor, and for that matter, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and get some remedies. And that is because if you were declaring somebody wanted, what it means is that you have no contact whatsoever with the person. No contact with him personally, with his family, with his lawyers, totally no contact. And when you check the Special Prosecutor's website, he has posted a series of persons that are wanted. And all those people who are wanted, I did a quick check, and none of those people who are on that listing have made any form of contact with the Special Prosecutor. In fact, they are literally missing. Their lawyers have not written to them, the Special Prosecutor, to tell them where the people are. They have not been able to find the homes of those people. They do not know any family member. They do not know the whereabouts of the people. But they are saying that in the case of Ken, you have written to him, leaving a letter at his doorpost. His caretakers know that he's not there, but they notified him that, hey, there's a letter for you. He has acknowledged the letter. He has told his lawyers that, Special Prosecutor is looking for me, but right now I'm not there. My issues are such that I cannot even come immediately. So can you speak to him for me? The lawyers say, okay, we have your instructions. We'll do that. They speak to him and say that, our client says that you are looking for him. He acknowledges it. He's willing to come. By his circumstances now, he's unable to come at the time that you want him to come. So can we look at another time, sometime after March? Because after March, he's expected to go through a medical process, and we'll know after that clearly when he's able to come. But the Special Prosecutor does not agree with that proposition and declares him wanted. So they are saying that by virtue of this, they believe that his reputation has been damaged and his fundamental human rights has also been breached. And so he can't proceed to court and go to the human rights court. Interestingly, in Ghana, we have 2 human rights courts at the court complex. And so he has 2 courts that he can go to seek remedy for his image. Again, one of the lawyers tells me that, about a month and a few days after the Akufo-Addo government leaves office, for a top position holder like Ken Ofori-Atta, who was Minister for Finance and later on became the President's Special Envoy for Financial Institutions, they think that the action of the Special Prosecutor itself has effect and an impact on Ghana's reputation, and for that matter, Ghana's dealings with financial institutions, because this is the man who served in the capacity as finance minister, led various processes in the country, and just 1 month after exiting office, he is being declared as wanted when it is only an investigation that has commenced. And he has not,
with whom we have security arrangements, and perhaps act on the special prosecutor's wishes, and indeed to demand, if Ken Ofori-Atta is within their jurisdiction, that he return to Ghana. If necessary, bundle him onto a plane and ask him to return to Accra, to either not answer questions from the special prosecutor and then be charged, or to answer questions freely.
Well, very interesting, Nana. But when the special prosecutor addressed his press conference recently, he talked about the fact that the Ken Ofori-Atta has two options: either to come on his own, or the special prosecutor will use all its available connections to get him to come. I think that following Ken's communication with the special prosecutor through his lawyers, if the special prosecutor is not willing to accept that, I think that he should activate the second option, which is using all available means to get him to come back to Ghana. I think that the special prosecutor should do that. In his notice, he provided some telephone numbers. There are 2 telephone numbers.
Yes.
That people should call and give information if they know his whereabouts.
WhatsApp.
People say they have been trying to call. Yes, people said they've been trying to call those numbers, but they are off. They wanted to supply the special prosecutor with information as to where he is, but because the number is off, they are unable to reach him.
Well, they're so WhatsApp lines rather than phone call lines.
Yes, they can turn on the telephones. Yeah, if they are listening, they can turn on the telephones, because there are people who have information as to where Ken is in the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and they want to help the special prosecutor with it. But the telephone lines he provided are all off. They are not accessible.
Indeed. Yeah. And as we said earlier on, question being, is the special prosecutor not inclined to call the Mayo Clinic himself, or indeed to call the Department for Homeland Security in the United States of America? One might say almost the 64 million cedi question. We suspect we'll be hearing more about this in the course of the day, and as you say, various bits of advice to either party about their next course of action. We're sure that this will be a developing story that we'll be talking to you again.
To talk to anybody, because somehow Ken mysteriously decided to do this and then went ahead to do it without it passing through anybody else's hands.
Well, the special prosecutor, to give him the benefit of the doubt, has not said that he is not talking to anybody else. He's merely talked specifically about the case of Ken Ofori-Atta himself being wanted to answer to charges in relation to these 4 cases and several others.
I can only quote what Mustafa Hamid himself said, that he has not been contacted by anybody in the special prosecutor's office. So, unless he's lying as well.
One wonders to what extent this, one shouldn't say grandstanding, but the turning up of the heat in this case is the product of pressures being brought to bear on the special prosecutor himself. And we didn't get into conversation with Wilberforce about the matter of the national security raid on the former finance minister's house on the morning of the 11th of February, a week ago today. Happy anniversary.
There's been an attempt to say that there was a search warrant. But the problem about search warrants is that you must give it to somebody who's competent to understand the content thereof, and then who agrees to allow you to proceed. So if you go to the house, and the law of this country is very clear, the person on whom the search warrant is being issued, their residents, they have a right to be there when you search. So if you go and give it to the house girl, or you didn't give it to the house girl, and now you want to say you gave it to the house girl, cry nah. It's not her house.
And the housekeeper in this particular question actually says she asked for permission to contact her employers before letting people into the house, and some banter, to use the popular phrase, ensued about the matter. And then the people decided to help themselves by barging into the house. So a very curious complex of circumstances. We've discussed on previous ABSs who answers for the matter of, for example, the Office of Serious Fraud, the Serious Fraud Office in the UK, or the Parquet Judiciaire in France, or the Department of Justice in the United States.
9:15. It's me, Anging. 9:15, Asaase Radio 99.5. You see, you're tempted to become extremely, a little bit too negative. And I don't want to be too negative, but a little bit tiring. We're taking a break. When we come back, we're talking about educational reforms and maybe how to educate our investigators to investigate. That would be a good one.